It is a new year. New Year's always bring new possibilities with it. You're on social media, you're looking on your Facebook or your Twitter feeds or your Instagram. There's always people that are talking about what went on in the years past and what's coming on in the year to come. And then some of them are like, I'm so excited about all these new opportunities. And other people are like, man, last year was the hardest year of my life, and I hope things get better in the year to come. And we spend time making New Year's resolutions, and it's a good thing for us to have a time in our life where we look back at what we're doing and who we are. We kind of just break down the things that we like, the things that we're struggling with, and have a time to say, it's changing today. Today we're going to do something about it. And yeah, like most resolutions, maybe we never completely 100% fulfill all of them, make all the things work exactly right, but to have that time, to have that moment when you can begin to evaluate and reevaluate things going on in your life. And so we're going to be doing that for the church over the next month in January. We're going to be talking about, as a church, what is our vision for the church? Vision could be another fancy word for talking about what is our resolution for the new year. What do we as a church see God calling us to be? And hopefully in the process, what do you see individually God calling you to be in your personal life, in your family life, in your work life, and as part of this church? What do you feel God's calling you to be? What is the vision that God has placed on you? And then as a part of that, what is our mission? Okay, not just who are we, God, but God, what are we being called to fulfill? What part of the kingdom work are we being called to enact, to engage in the world that God has set us down in the middle of? And so we've been talking, we spent last year, the 6 months that we've been here, we spent last year doing some time to help us prepare personally and spiritually. We were asking God to help us to evaluate our lives and ask ourselves, God, where am I strong, growing close to you, Lord, really seeing you work in my life? And where are those places, God, where really I haven't been able to grow and mature, and asking God to use those places that we have matured in, that we've grown in, and asking God to provide for us mentors and leaders and wisdom that will help us to grow in those areas we're struggling. And we spent a lot of time trying to ask ourselves, am I prepared for the work that God has in store for us? And this year what we're asking is, we're saying, God, send us out. God, what do you have for us to do? God, where are you? But in order to do that, whenever you start any race, before you start any activity, a lot of times we have things that are kind of holding us back, keeping us from accomplishing the things that we need to accomplish. And in a new year, there's a ton of those as well. When we look back in the past year, when we look back where we came from, how many times do we look back and say, I'd have done so much more if it wasn't for this or this or this, and it may be struggling physically or struggling financially. It may be something that we've been dealing with, an addiction that's been going on in our lives. It may be a family struggle or a family issue. But how many times do we look around us and say, there are things that I can't control, there are things that are going on in my life, and they're conspiring against me from keeping me accomplishing the things that God wants me to accomplish. And so this new year, we're starting off with that idea that before we can go anywhere else, we need to face and acknowledge and to be able to deal with the things that have been causing us to falter in our walk with God, to really truly become a new person. And here's the problem. Whenever we fall and whenever we struggle, I think one of the reasons that happens in so many of our lives is if we could just have one thing we're focusing on, we could do a really good job with it. Just one thing. Give me one thing to work on, God. And if this is the one thing I need to work on, I'm going to focus my energy on, I'm going to focus my time on, I'm going to focus my attention on it, and we're going to overcome these things, and I'm going to be ready for whatever you would have me to do. The problem is, things don't always come at us one at a time. All right, so I'm working in the FedEx early in the morning, helping get packages moving in and out. And we have something called a package avalanche, all right? And if I haven't painted a vivid enough picture, I want you to imagine an avalanche out of packages, all right? So if you ever get a package that's got a dent or a bump at some point in time, I'm sure it's a part of one of these things. I could be going just fine, sitting in my trailer, got my little scanner, and I scan a package and I put it in. That way you can go online, you can check your package. It says, your package has just been loaded. That was me, all right? Somebody knows, ooh, my treat is coming today because it just got loaded on a truck. That's my job. Scan it, put it in the truck. Scan it, put it in the truck. And there's this huge conveyor belt and then a slide. They don't let me slide on it. They told me I will lose my job if I slide on it. So when I'm ready to leave, I'm sliding, all right? But it's like a 3-story slide. There's a conveyor belt that goes way above my head, makes lots of noise. I don't see, but it magically sends stuff down this slide. Zoom, and it comes into my truck. All right, I load it. Zoom, and it comes to my truck. I load it. Zoom, zoom. Oh, load it. Zoom, zoom, zoom. Oh, hey, load it. And then all of a sudden, and everything starts coming. I'm like, oh my goodness. And I'm scanning and packing. And then stuff gets kind of jammed up. And stuff gets pushed to the side. And then it starts, the slide no longer zook. It's now getting backed up in the slide. And backed up in the slide. And backed up in the slide. And you pull that one package, you're like, this one's tough. It's hard. What's going on? And you pull it and you realize that was it. That was the one package that was holding back the avalanche. And everything comes and you're plastered like this in the back of the trailer. And you're like, send me to Louisiana. I don't know. I can't get out. I'm stuck here behind all the packages. And it's that avalanche. When they come one at a time, I'm the best. Like, you're doing good, Pastor Phil. I was like, I know I am. I can do one at a time. When they come 100 at a time, all of a sudden it's like, I need somebody else in here. Some of these people jumping in, stacking up packs, getting stuff out the side. Maybe 2 or 3 of us in a truck at one time, just trying to get stuff going. And it happens all the time. You can handle one thing. You can handle 2 or 3 things. Because, you can look down. I can look up the slide and see, okay, well, there's 10 packages there. I can do 10 packages. I can get those because they'll come every once in a while, but that's okay. 20 packages, 30, 40, and our lives feel like that sometimes. I can handle a couple of things, God. But God, I can't handle everything in every part of my life. I can't handle all the stuff coming at me at one time. I can't handle all of the pains and all the stresses. And I don't know about you, but maybe that was your 2018, where you were like, God, everything in my life, at some point in time, there was a leak in it, and I couldn't keep up with all of it. I couldn't keep it going. We're going to be in the book of Judges, and we're going to be looking at a story out of the book of Judges. Judges chapter 3, verse 12. It says, once again, the Israelites did evil in the Lord's sight. And the Lord gave King Eglon of Moab control over Israel because of their evil. And Eglon enlisted the Ammonites and the Amalekites as allies. And then he went out and defeated Israel, taking possession of Jericho, the city of palms. And the Israelites served Eglon of Moab for 18 years. I mean, it's not just bad enough that Eglon is like, I want that place. I want that land. It's good land. There's a lot of good things going there. A lot of people that could work for me and make me some money. But he's like, you know what? I really, really want that land. So I've got some buddies. I got some people I'm going to call up, and we're going to work together. So I'm going to call up the Ammonites, I'm going to call up the Amalekites, and King Eglon of Moab, and the Moabites, and the Ammonites, and the Amalekites. They all begin getting together and say, let's work together to go and get this land from the nation of Israel. Let's work together to take over this place. And together, the 3 of them ganged up on Israel in order to help overthrow them, to take them over, to enslave them, to control them. And it says the Israelites had to serve Eglon for 18 years. Isn't that our life sometimes? I mean, if it was just one guy, God, just give me one bad guy. One thing I could focus on. One person that I could, one problem in my life. God, let it be my health this year, all right, but let everything else be fine. God, let it be, I've got issues at work, okay, so I'm going to work really hard, maybe try to get that raise, or I'm going to try to get that promotion. But God, let it just be work this year, but let my kids be okay. God, let me be able to devote and dedicate time to my kids. But God, I pray that my parents' health is strong and steady and sturdy. But it's not like that. It's one thing after another, and they all gang up on us. All the time, they gang up on us. And it can wear us down. It can beat us down. And honestly, there are times when we look up to God and say, God, I can't handle it anymore. God, it's too much. God, they're beating me up. God, they're ganging up on me. And how many times have the people of God often looked up at God and say, God, the world is ganging up on me. They're all here all at one time, and I can't handle anymore. And I want you to know you are not alone. I think that's the worst thing. I think a lot of times we feel like I'm the only one that can't keep it together. Because I look at Facebook and everybody else's kids on Facebook are doing perfect things and they look nice and like I've got some of my pastor friends that are like, I lost so much weight last year and going into the new year, I'm going to lose more. I'm like, Craig, you got it all together. And they're showing pictures of, we went on our vacation and they're showing, and everybody's life is perfect. And then I look at mine, I was like, man, I got issues. Yeah, we need to find the good pictures, all right? Find something. Only post those. And I know that we're the only ones that only post the good pictures and don't post the crazy pictures because everybody else's life is put together, right? Yeah. I've seen it. They're all great. The pictures you keep in your wallet, the pictures that are on your phone, they're all the best. Of the best events of the best things. Nobody ever comes out and says, man, you guys see these pictures of my colonoscopy, all right? No, we're not doing that. We're not whipping out those pictures that are like, man, this was the worst, all right? You see that? That's right. That's acne right there. It's all over my face. I took a picture of it so I could show people, right? We don't do that. We don't take all the warts and the bad things and the difficulties and parade them out in the air. And so we think a lot of times that we're the only one that's going through those things. And I want you to know that when you come into this building, we know that none of us are perfect. And we know that all of us are struggling with something. And I want you to know that God cares and loves you. He cares about what you're going through. And He understands that, yeah, you are going through hard times. But I know a lot of times it feels like the nation of Israel, where everybody's ganging up on you. And every other nation has it going on. Every other family has it going on. And it's just your family. It's just you. And the reality is so often we all struggle. And we've just come out of Christmas time. You know what? It's supposed to be the greatest time of the year. And it is. There's a lot of great things that come with it. But we've talked before. It's also a very stressful time of the year. And December is when we get to have all the parties and all the fun and all the other. January is when we have to clean it all up. And that's not the fun part. All right? Unless you get Joe to come and help clean up the church, and then Joe's got it all taken care of, all right? So I'm renting him out, so if you need somebody to help you clean your house or anything, Joe did a great job. And some other people. I know we had other people. Cheryl was up here too. I saw what he did in the church's basement, and it was great. So Claire, he can do it, all right? I want you to know he can do it. No, we had other people helping too. Claire was up here helping with us, and not Claire, Cheryl was up here. Names are going out of my brain, and Nancy was up here with us too. But we had a lot of people up here working. But man, that's January. It's taking it down. I heard multiple people walk in today and looking like, man, the lobby looks kind of sad. Because there were no longer any Christmas trees, no blinking lights, no Legos, no nothing. And it's just like, huh. And that's how we feel sometimes personally, spiritually. I've been beaten down, I've tried so hard, and January comes and I'm like, I realize all that decorations just covered up the fact that, this is who I am, this is what it is. And it's a struggle. And so we start trying to make bargains with our struggles. I don't know if you've ever done that before. You start trying to maybe wheel and deal with your struggles. Like, look, okay, struggles, if you could wait just this long, if we're having financial problems, maybe we make that bargain with the credit card where we're like, you know what, I'm just going to keep using the credit card and pretend like I don't have financial problems. Or if it's a health problem, maybe I'm just going to take this medicine. We live in a state that deals with a lot of people that are self-medicating, that are out there taking medicines to make themselves feel better. I'm gonna forget my problems, I'm going to forget my pains. I'm going to make a bargain, I'm going to make a deal with my problems by covering them up, by trying to pay them off. And I know I need to lose weight or something, but you know what? I'm going to make a deal with it by just feeding it a lot more, and then I'll feel better about it. And we try to make bargains with our pains. We try to make bargains with our problems. I feel almost like it's a protection racket sometimes, like we're in the mob and they come up to us and say, hey, I'll take care of you, all right? All you have to do is give me a little kickback, all right? And our problems do that to us. And we're like, maybe that's a good deal. If I give a little kickback to it, send a little cashola to the mom, then they'll make sure that my business is okay, all right? They're not going to mess me up. They're going to leave me alone, all right? Just got to send them a little money. And we do that. We do that with our personal life. We do that with our spiritual life, where we try to make deals with our struggles. We try to make deals with our problems. And we tell God, God, I'm okay with this problem. I made a deal with it. We're okay. Just like I was okay with sugar. I was okay, God, I made a deal with it. This deal was it was going to make me happy. And I was not going to let it take me down, all right? And so I had to deal with it. God, I can do other things. Maybe I'll work harder here, do this here, but God, you've got to let me keep this one obstacle. You got to let me keep this one pain, this one problem, God. I'm just gonna cover it up. I'm gonna ignore it. I'm gonna do something. You know, my kids, they'll be fine. I don't know. I'm gonna send them off to Grandma's house, and Grandma will make them better, all right? Every grandma, make your kids better, all right? I'm gonna send them over there. I'm gonna do something to God, but I can't deal with my own problems or my own struggles. I'm just going to buy it off. And you know what? That's what the nation of Israel was doing. Did I turn the page? I did not. Oh, I skipped the page on my iPad. I have jumped a verse. All right. This is why technology failed me. All right. All right. I'm going to jump to verse 15 to 17 real quick. We'll come back to that one in a minute. So Israel has this idea. They brought the tribute money to Eglon, who was very fat. I don't know why that's important, but he was very fat. It offends me a little bit that the Bible's pointing out fat shaming Eglon. But after delivering the payment, Ehud, we're going to find out who he is because we skipped this verse. Ehud started home with those who had helped carry the tribute. And so Israel had this plan. We're going to placate the enemy. We're going to buy him off. We'll give him money and maybe he'll leave us alone for just a little bit. We're going to give him money and maybe he'll make things go away. Maybe he will take care of things for us. And why do we do that? Let's jump back a verse. We do that sometimes because we feel like we're not good enough to handle those problems. We're not good enough to overcome our obstacles. You know, that whole looking at Facebook and seeing everybody else is perfect, and then we look at our lives unfiltered. Not with the fancy cameras, not with all the editing out. We look at our lives unfiltered and we say, my life is a mess. Why can't I be like all those other people? Why can't I be normal? You ever ask that to yourself? Why can't I just be a normal person? Just like an average person in Connecticut. Why can't I just be one of those people? Why do I have got to be defective, God? Why do I have to be the person that can't manage my stress? Why do I have to be the person that has to deal with depression? God, why do I have to be the person that goes through all these problems and goes through all these pains and can't keep it together? Why am I the person that deals with it? Everybody else's life is fine. Why is my life so abnormal? Why can't I be normal? Judges chapter 3, verses 15. So this is going back to find out what God was doing. He says, but when the people of Israel cried out to the Lord for help, the Lord again raised up a rescuer to save them. His name was Ehud, son of Gera, a left-handed man of the tribe of Benjamin. All right, so we're doing lots of shaming here. All right, we did some fat shaming earlier. Now we're talking about this left-handed man. All right, how many of y'all are left-handed here? All right. See, they even raised their left hand when they did it. I raised my right hand on purpose. Just to let you know, this was not a compliment of Ehud, all right? Back in the day, if you were left-handed, there was something wrong with you, right? Your right hand was for doing justice and the good things of God. The left hand was for smiting and for evil things, all right? So if you were left-handed, back in this culture, they believed there was something wrong with you. I'm sorry, there's not. You all are perfectly normal, I'm sure. But they thought there was something wrong with you if you were left-handed. For generations and generations in ancient cultures, left-handed people were considered somehow messed up. Things weren't quite right. The right hand was good, the left hand was bad. And so when Ehud's being pointed out that he is a left-handed person, don't leave, I wasn't trying to offend you. You really love me. All right, it's okay, you can be left-handed. All right, David, you can leave too. Hey, you can leave too. All my left-handed people leaving us. But people would have looked at Ehud, and his entire life he would have been harassed for being left-handed, for doing everything with the wrong hand, the wrong way. And people would have equated it to his life, to his spirituality, to his family, to all these other things. And if you've ever felt like, I'm not normal, Ehud would have been one of those people that felt like, I'm not normal. People point out to me all the time, I'm not normal because I'm left-handed would be something that Ehud would see, and he's from the tribe of Benjamin. And the Israelites sent Ehud to deliver the tribute money to King Eglon of Moab. So Ehud made a double-edged dagger that was about a foot long, and he strapped it to his right thigh, keeping it hidden under his clothing. So I want you to think back. Once again, we're talking about problems that we have. And so we have these problems. Multiple nations have gathered together. You have probably had problems where multiple things have gathered against you. And then like Ehud, maybe you felt like you're not normal. You look at everybody else's life, and you're like, they've got it going on. They're normal. I'm abnormal. There's something wrong with me. There's something dysfunctional about me. And in that process where everybody's ganging up against me, everything's wrong with me, that's where the nation of Israel came and they decided we're going to bargain. We're just going to pay off our problems. We're not going to get rid of our problems. We're not going to deal with our problems. We're not going to handle our problems. We're just going to say, I give up, and here, problems, take my life. Take my livelihood. Take my energy. Take my sanity, and whatever it is that we do in our lives sometimes, we give up on the great things that God's calling us to be a part of and what God wants us to do. Why? Because there's so many other things, and God, they're ganging up at me. God, I'm not normal. I'm not ready, and God, I give up, and I'm just going to give my problems what they want. And so the guy that struggles with his weight struggles with it more. Why? Because I give up, God. The food wants me to eat, I'm going to eat. If you didn't want it to be that tasty, you shouldn't have made it that tasty, God. And the person that is struggling with family issues, you find out there's more yelling and there's more screaming and there's more family issues, and the person that's depressed gets deeper in depression because they don't talk about it, they don't deal with it, they don't share it, they don't work with it. And our problems compound upon problems, and our year gets worse. This is a great day, Pastor. Thanks for sharing that with us. We feel that way sometimes when we start making resolutions. Our resolutions almost seem like, if I could just get a hold of one thing, if I could just handle one thing. And here Ehud, the abnormal left-handed guy, I can't even believe God could use him. All right, an abnormal left-handed guy going up against this ruler of these people that are ganging up against him as he pays them off. And all the guys around him, they came. I mean, Ehud had to bring a group of people to come and help deliver the payment to the tribute. And as he's walking home, all of a sudden, Ehud has a thought. Verse 19. It says, but when Ehud reached the stone idols near Gilgal, he turned back. He came to Eglon and said, I have a secret message for you. And so the king commanded his servants, be quiet. And he sent them all out of the room. And Ehud walked over to Eglon, who was sitting alone in a cool upstairs room. And Ehud said, I have a message from God for you. As King Eglon rose from his seat. And Ehud reached with his left hand, his awful cursed hand, that abnormal left hand, and he pulled out the dagger strapped to his right thigh, and he plunged it into the king's belly. And the dagger went so deep that the handle disappeared beneath the king's fat. See, it gets better. Fat people, left-handed people. So it disappeared beneath the king's fat. So Ehud did not pull the dagger out. And the king's bowels emptied. And then Ehud closed and locked the doors of the room and escaped down the latrine. And after Ehud was gone, the king's servants returned and found the doors to the upstairs room locked, and they thought he might be using the latrine in the room. All right? I know you've done that before. Your kids are in the bathroom for like 30 minutes. You're like, what are they doing in there? All right? I don't know. I don't want to ask, and I don't want to know. So they waited. But when the king didn't come out after a long delay, they became concerned and got a key. And when they opened the doors, they found their master dead on the floor. And while the servants were waiting, Ehud escaped, passing the stone idols on his way to Sarai. And when he arrived in the hill country of Ephraim, Ehud sounded a call to arms. Then he led a band of Israelites down from the hills. All right, now I had a whole lot of potty jokes set up because we're in the latrine, all right, but I'm not going to use any of them. We're going to keep this clean and PG, all right? We're going to be ready to go. But Ehud, as he's leaving, you know he's got this plan. God, we've got to overcome the problems that are in our lives. We've got to overcome the things that are going. But he gets there and he's like, I can't do it, God. I'm just going to pay off my problems. And we do that at the beginning of the year. God, I'm just going to pay off my problems. I want things to be different. But God, I'm going to give in to my addictions. I'm going to give in to my pains. I'm going to give in to my problems. I just want to go back. I just want to do the things that I've done. And then it hits him as he's walking back. As he's walking back near the stone idols, as he's going past that land, and he realizes this is not who I've been called to be. This is not who our country has been called to be. The nation of Israel, we're not meant to be slaves to this guy. We're not meant to be living these miserable lives. And so he returns, and something that we think is abnormal, that left-handed man, that abnormal guy that doesn't use the correct hand. You want to know something? Because he's left-handed and his sword was strapped to his right side where he had grabbed it. Guess what? The TSA couldn't find it. The security, when they walked in, they're like, nope, no sword there. Come on in. Why? Because he had a sword on the wrong side. Why did he have a sword on the wrong side? Because he was left-handed. He was messed up. The guy was abnormal. You want to know something? You may be abnormal. You may be the exact sort of abnormal that God needs this year. You may be the exact sort of strange that God's like, that person can get to a place where no one else can get and can deliver the message of God that no one else can deliver. He has not called you to stab your pastor, all right? So don't bring knives next week. All right, this is not a message about assassinations. This is a message about how God can use any one of you in any form, wherever you are. And what you think is your weakness is exactly what God needs for God to get the glory. That's the problem we have so many times. We keep looking at weaknesses in our lives and see it as punishments from God. And it's not a punishment from God. God clearly tells us that it's in our weakness that He is made strong. It's when we are struggling, when we're having a hard time, when the world looks at us and says, how are you ever going to get out of that we say, I can't get out of that, but I have a God that delivers people all the time. And Ehud, as abnormal as he was, as strange as he was able to approach the throne of the king with the message of judgment that God had for him without anyone being any the wiser. Why? Because his sword was not where it was supposed to be. And he brings in his little 1-foot sword. And he stabs that big old fat man, and I can just see that big old fat man as he stabs. He goes in, and goes in, and goes in some more. Because you got to stab a long way through a lot of fat in order to get people. That's why I'm fat, all right? It protects me from a lot of things. Somebody come at me with a little knife, I'm good, all right? He needs a 1-foot knife in order to get at me, all right? We crash in the middle of, Vermont somewhere, I'm living the longest, okay? Because I've got plenty of fat storage to help me survive the winter, all right? It's why I've done this. It's protection, all right? It is not. God told me I have to lose it. But Ehud comes in there, and he takes that knife, and he jams it in, jams it in farther, and finally he's like, here's the message that God has for you. He says, I have a message from God. And he didn't say anything to him. What was his message from God? His message from God was the judgment has come. You have oppressed the people of God too long. You have had things that have been oppressing you too long. And God is not saying, let's buy those people off. Let's pay a little bit of tribute so maybe they'll leave you alone. God says it's time to slay the things that are causing us to stumble. And the message of God was placed into that belly. And Ehud's like, I don't want that dagger back. And he lets go and he leaves it. He's like, that's where that thing's going to stay. I have delivered the message of God where it needs to go, and the message of God is going to stay there. I have delivered the message that God has for me. And he locks the doors from the inside, and he climbs down the latrine, which is just their chute that goes out the outside of the walls, and he's gone. And the message of God came that day. The book is called the Book of Judges. Why? Because these people were called to judge on behalf of God. God would say, you are a judge for my people. You're going to judge what's right and wrong with them. You're going to tell them to repent and come back to me. And you're going to judge the nations that have come against the people of God. You're going to judge the people that have come against my people and oppressed them and kept them down. For 18 years they had been oppressed. But Ehud was sent as a judge to come and to bring the message of God, the righteousness of God, the justice of God to that king. And in your life, when you look at 2019 and you say so many things ganged up on me in 2018 and so many things were bad in 2018 and I am not normal, I know that because of 2018, I want you to know right now the message of God is that He wants you to slay those obstacles that are in your way. God wants to empower you to tear them down. He doesn't want you to make bargains with them. He doesn't want you to make some sort of deal with them as a church. He doesn't want us to say, well, God, how can we just make it by? God says, I want you to be victorious. I want you to not just go and make a deal with them. I want you to do what satisfies the belly. I want you to do what makes things best. I want you to go and deliver the justice that I have called. And then the question comes, who can stand before the judge? If the righteousness of God is coming, who can stand before the judge? In verse 28, Ehud says, follow me, for the Lord has given you victory over Moab, your enemy. And so they followed him, and the Israelites took control of the shallow crossing from the Jordan River across from Moab, preventing anyone from crossing, and they attacked the Moabites and killed about 10,000 of their strongest and most able-bodied warriors. Not one of them escaped, and so Moab was conquered by Israel that day, and there was peace in the land for 80 years. That's my prayer for you this year, that there will be peace in your land for 80 years in the year 2018. I know, you're going to 2019. You're going to have to cram a lot of that in to get 80 years of peace in 2019. But that's what God was calling Ehud to do. He looks at his people. He says, repent, turn back to me. And as they repent and turn back to him, he sends a judge to say, deliver my message. And he delivers the message to the ruler of that people. And when the ruler of that people, when the ruler of the things that are keeping you down, when Satan is defeated in your life, when those obstacles are killed and destroyed, the enemy that's coming against you can no longer stand against the power of God. Can no longer stand against the onslaught of a man of God doing the work of God. And in our lives, as we go full bore, not looking to cover up our problems, but looking to destroy our problems, knowing our problems, identifying our problems, and attacking the problems in the name of God, with the power of God, under our prayer, under the direction of God, we're going to find ourselves facing an enemy that no longer has a head, an enemy that no longer has a leader, and an enemy, though they're 10,000 people strong, that can no longer stand up against us. I want 2019 to be that year of victory. That year when we look at our problems and don't ignore them anymore. It means if we're struggling with things, and I've been joking about my weight, but you guys know my story. My story is I am unhealthy because I'm too big. And it was a problem that I ignored for a long time. I can ignore it no more. I have to fight that problem. There may be problems that you have in your life, you can ignore it no more. And that means sometimes making hard realizations. And they're not easy victories. It's sometimes admitting to family and friends and church members and loved ones and saying, look, this is something I'm struggling with. Hold me accountable to it. It means being with those people as you begin walking back past those resolutions that you made, because you made them and you went forward, but then you came back the other way, just like Ehud did, that you get to a point where you say, no, I can't walk away from it anymore. I've got to return, and I've got to face my enemies. I've got to face the things that are coming against me, and the struggles and the obstacles that are there. We go after them and we attack them. The Bible tells us we're surrounded by such a great cloud of witnesses. Let us throw off the hindrances. Let us throw off the things that bind us. Let us throw off the things that are going to cause us to stumble. Let's run the race for the prize. You are surrounded by a great cloud of witnesses. There are people here. There are people that are in your family. There are people that love God, that love you, that are a great cloud of witnesses, that are watching you run that race. And they are cheering for you as you throw off those stumbling blocks, as you destroy those obstacles that have been slowing you down. And I want you to know we are here for you. If there's something you're needing, if you're like, I wish, Pastor, you could help me know how God has helped people in the past do this or do that, let me know. Let us spend some time talking about it as a church. Maybe you have a family member who's been struggling with opioid abuse. Well, guess what? Let us know. Let's spend some time talking about that. What can we do? How can we love on a family member? How can we help somebody that's dealing with that? Well, what's available in our communities and in our churches and in our areas around us? What can we do? If you're struggling with finances, if you're struggling with marriage relationships, if you're struggling with whatever it is, let somebody know. Communicate those things to them. And then come together to God and build a plan to deliver God's message to that situation in your life. To slay that thing. And to get to a point where we indeed can say, today, this year, is my year of peace. Not a year that we get to sit down and do nothing. But you know what that peace is? That peace is that moment where you get to sit down and do what God's called you to do. Not putting out fires. Not chasing after the next moment of relief. But that moment where you're like, God, I'm right where you want me to be. And everything's right with the world. Can I promise you that 2019 is going to be better than 2018? I can't promise you that. The nation of Israel had 18 years where they were under persecution. But during that time, the people slowly and gradually began praying more, began working more. And that time comes when their prayers and their work and their struggle comes up before God. And God is like, I hear your prayers. And I believe that you're ready to be delivered. In your life, get into the Word. Study what God has to say about the demons that you're struggling with. Get involved in prayer, a personal prayer life, a prayer life here at the church. And we're going to be talking a lot about prayer this year. Get involved in praying and communicating with God so that you can talk to Him and you can hear from Him. And then get active in doing the things that God's called you to. Stop paying off your problems. And start asking God to give you the power to conquer them. 2019, I am excited about. There are a lot of obstacles. I sat down with your leadership team this weekend, and there are a lot of obstacles. And we're going to talk about some of those, because as a church, we have to be up and honest and saying, these are the obstacles we're facing. But you know what? There's a lot that God wants to do too. And I'm excited to see that. Jump right with me. Our Heavenly Father, God, we thank you so much for being a God that doesn't want to just brush problems aside, but God that wants to conquer and be a victor, to be an overcomer in all the things that are going on. God, I pray that you would work in this church, Lord. That each individual that is here, God, would be compelled to examine their own lives. You know, look at those things that have been ganging up on them all last year, and the year before, and the year before. And God, in brokenness, come to you and say, Lord, I cannot solve my own problems. But Jesus, I submit to you. And like the nation of Israel, when they turned back to God, when they prayed to Him, when they repented and got themselves right, God sent them a judge, a deliverer. And Lord, I pray that you would send deliverers in our lives. God, I pray that you would send people that would be family members and church members, friends and co-workers. God, it could be doctors and CPAs and school teachers and neighbors. People that you've surrounded us with, that you have gifted and given the message and the power and the ability to be that judge in the harsh things that we have in our lives. And God, we know that ultimately you broke this cycle of sin when you sent your Son, Jesus Christ, who died once for all. At that moment, the power of sin was broken in our lives. And that if we would simply place our faith in Him, the work that He did on the cross is sufficient to bring us salvation. Lord, if there's anyone here today that is dealing with the struggle that they're like, I just need somebody to pray with me, Lord, I pray that they would go back to the back of the church and find one of our prayer team members and just say, please pray for me. It's a burden that's on me right now, and I need your prayers. God, I pray that you would call call to our hearts, Lord, to find those people to stand beside us in the power of prayer. God, if there's anyone here today that's like, I'm missing out on all of that stuff because, God, I don't even know who you are. I want you to know that you can come and talk to me. Share with me your concerns, your fears. Share with me your doubts, and let me talk with you about what God has provided you through His Son, Jesus Christ. And Jesus has come. He lived a perfect life. He died in order to wipe out the power that sin may have over you. And you've been offered eternal life through Jesus Christ. God, I pray that you would be with us today, Lord. I pray that you would speak to our hearts